All right, good afternoon, morning, whenever you're watching this, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're looking at grammar lesson K. So we are still looking at pronouns and antecedents and how they must agree in gender, number, and case. So that's subjective or objective, which we talked more about last week, or last lesson. Let's go ahead and get started with today. Okay, so what we are looking for is that we have to choose the correct pronoun for each antecedent, and we know this based on what we've already learned. So if we look at these example sentences, so let's read number one together. Many so-called founding fathers are famous for one or two of, we have to insert the pronoun, accomplishments. So we're talking about founding fathers as our antecedent. So that's talking about more than one male, okay? So we would use the pronoun there. Many so-called founding fathers are famous for one or two of their accomplishment. But anyone who knows blank history, okay, so anyone here is our pronoun. We know that that's talking about one person, but we don't know if it's male or female. So we would have to use his or her. So, but anyone who knows his or her history knows that Franklin is known for many things, including his, since the antecedent is Franklin, inventions. So that's how we're going to go about it. We're going to look for that antecedent and make sure that our pronoun that we're using matches the antecedent. So I think the last one, let's look at it as well, because it sounds kind of strange when we use the correct antecedent, or I'm sorry, the correct pronoun for the antecedent, but this is correct. So number 3 says, an inventor like Franklin does not limit blank imagination. Now we usually want to use their. An inventor like Franklin does not limit their imagination, but that's not actually correct, because an inventor like Franklin can be male or female, and it's singular. So we actually have to use his or her. So an inventor like Franklin does not limit his or her imagination. If you have questions about this, please write it down so we can talk about it in class tomorrow. All right. There are also a lot of questions about who and whom, whoever versus whomever, and that and which. And when do you use them? So pronouns also should match their antecedents based on the antecedent being a human or a non-human. So who and whom is for people. Who and whomever are also for people. So who, remember from last lesson, who you use as a subject, whom you use for a direct object. And that's the same with whoever versus whomever. So you would say the senator who loved children approved the education bill. He'll present his ideas to whom he knows will help, like teachers. And that and which are for animals and objects. I know we like to think of animals as people, but they grammatically fit in with objects. So we would say something like the cat that meowed loudly got some milk. The kittens which cried got a snuggle, and that would also be grammatically correct. All right, what you're going to see on No Red Ink is information like this, where it's looking at who as the subject and whom as an object. So hopefully that clears up some issues on pronoun antecedent agreement. Again, if you have questions, please be keeping track of those, and we'll talk about them in class. I will see you guys for our next grammar lesson. And remember, next class you have a quiz, so make sure you're studying and letting us know if you have questions. All right, I'll see you all in class.